this group will be basically playing for a playoff finish. Whoever finishes last year will be mathematically knocked out of the races. I'm joined here in the commentator booth with Shneaky the Lost. And Shneaky, if you'd like to say a few words and introduce our production team, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. This is going to be week 5, which is going to be semi vanilla or vanilla ish, as we like to say here. This is, as he said, a positional team a race. So somebody here may well be going home. Very important race for all of these guys. Our trackers today are going to be Centroid 41 and Fryteeth. Brian Williams on the restream so that we can all enjoy this wonderful thing. And we've got the silver harp right there in the throne room, so we're already off to a pretty good start. Now, by vanilla-ish, what we're saying here is the map is identical, and I think the castles are identical. No, excuse me, the tentacle castle can be on any of the city positions as well as any of the cities being anywhere. And the caves can be anywhere as well. But they have to be on the same tiles that they were on the vanilla map. Charlock obviously has to be where it is because of the rainbow drop. Speaking of which, we will need to go ahead and do our laundry list of collecting items if we're going to want to slay the Dragon Lord, which is the ultimate goal of this tournament league. And to do that, we're going to need the harp, the stones of sunlight, the Erdrick's token, and then turn the harp in for the Staff of Rain to be able to collect our rainbow drop to make the bridge to be able to get into Charlotte Castle. Now, this one is going to be a little bit different than you might expect because we do have a couple of other flags. First off, we've got a very fast XP speed, and if you'll notice, this text seems to be going by a little bit fast. This is what we refer to as a speed hacks flag. That just kind of, makes things run a little bit faster, a little bit smoother. And of course, we still have battle torches and fairy water used as an item in combat, hence why Diabetes II picking some up right there. Game Boy F9 running into a skeleton, and we'll be picking up a couple of levels.
And as you mentioned, our maps, our towns can be anywhere, and we've noticed that where the tablet cave, we actually found the town of Garenham. Our runners still don't have keys to see what's behind there. Interestingly enough, the flags for what is in the weapon shops. The weapon shops will have vanilla weapons based off of what is in their shop in that shop in the vanilla game, as well as spells will be learned in the order that they are learned in the vanilla game as well. So that's why you'll see the spells going off on the list just as you see them on the screen. So as our players level up, they will kind of have that knowledge of when they're going to learn heal more, when they're going to learn hurt, when they're going to learn outside, etc. As well as we know where the locations of towns and caves are. They just don't know what towns or caves those are going to be. However, their stat growth is still randomized, so there is that element, and obviously the monster stats and their abilities are also still randomized in this seed set, or flag set rather. And it looks like our runners have gotten a nice start in terms of their strength. We're already at 51 strength at level 5, so they should be able to knock things down even without weapons. They should be able to take out some decent low level monsters to get up into those middling levels where they're rapidly approaching.
Ooh, Asher running into a jerk bird, a star wyvern, and getting sent back home.
Meanwhile, it looks like a Leger Brap is making his way to a cave where Garenham normally is. And it does appear to be is that the mountain cave?
Yeah, that looks like Mountain Cave to me. So we've got a cave where Garenham normally is. We've got Garenham where a cave is normally supposed to be. This is turning out to be an interesting seed.
Yes, I think it'll be interesting figuring out like, okay, there's a second continent there. How do I get to it? Where is my swamp cave at? Definitely a question we're looking for. Aside for the key items, our runners are also looking for Erdrick's sword and Erdrick's armor. Those can also be in pretty much any of the searchable areas, whether that is a chest or a search tile. Erdrick's armor obviously making it much more better to fight the Dragon Lord and other enemies walking around by reducing the hurt and hurt more spells by half, the fire breaths by half. You gain 1 health for every step that you take, and it is the best armor class of any armor that you can get in the game. And Erdrick's sword, also the strongest sword in the game, so they'll be looking for those as well.
Absolutely. And of course, they are going to want to try and find Rimildar. They're going to need some keys to be able to get access to a lot of these potential locations. For example, you've got the armory in Tantegel Castle. You've got those 3 chests behind Garenham that they can already see. They know where they are. They just can't get to them because they don't have that magic key to get access to them. So that is also going to be something that could blow a seed wide open.
Yes, absolutely. Getting those keys can unlock a lot of doors for our runners. Now, where I am not 100% certain is it possible to have keys in chests? Now, I know in most randomizer versions or flag sets, they can be in a chest. So, do you know, Sneaky, if a key might turn up in a chest, or do they have to find Rimildar?
I have seen keys in chests previously, so it's not out of the realm of possibility.
All the more incentive to make those dives, and when you see a cave, clear a cave, because you never know what you might find.
Ooh, Aliger Brap running into a red dragon, or as we like to refer to them affectionately in the community, the fun police. Because when they pull you over, the fun is over.
Wee woo, wee woo, we're coming to take away your fun.
Oh, looks like Game Boy F9 has actually had a computer hard crash and has gone ahead and forfeited the match and will not be progressing to the playoff leagues.
That is an unfortunate turn of events for Game Boy. That does obviously secure our other runners. Mathematically, they should all be past that magic 15-point number in the league standings, as each runner will get, for third place, will get 2 points, second place gets 3 points, and first place gets that 5 points. The standings at this point, Diabetes the Second is sitting with 14 points, while Game Boy F9, Asher 1611, and Alijabrap all sitting at 13. So that does kind of give us an early idea of where our tournament standings will be. But still, it should be an interesting race to see where they will land in that field. Their position here will determine who they'll face off against in the first round as those brackets are drawn up. That is the first elimination round.
Yeah, this is the final week before the playoffs, which is why this is such an important match, especially for this particular set, who are right there on the edge of whether or not they will be advancing to the playoffs. Next week starts our own version of March Madness. With the top 16 players starting in the playoffs, so that is definitely something you want to catch. That's when we start getting really interesting matches. Now, Asher running into the Armored Knight, or as we refer to them, the AK-47, due to how hard it hits.
Meanwhile, Leader Brat making his way to the Vanilla Coal location. We'll see what town it is. It is Hawksness, and he nopes right on out of there. Speaking of March Madness, I must say, Sneaky, this is the only March Madness that matters. So make sure that you're checking this one out. And it looks like Elijah Brap now making his way up to the vanilla location of the Staff of Rain Cave. This is where we normally would turn in the Silver Harp to get the Staff of Rain, and it is the bonus cave.
Oh my, the Armored Knights actually have Dragon Lord Phase 2 breath.
Meanwhile, Jerk Cave is in the Mountain Cave vanilla location. And it was the Death Necklace that was found inside the bonus cave, or the Stones of Sunlight cave. Another AK-47 sending Asher 1611 home. He certainly does not like those Armored Knights. Or rather, they don't like him.
Ooh, Demon Knights have hurt more. That's gonna be problematic.
Yes, it seems like the monsters have been particularly vicious, at least some of these later monsters that we'll be seeing in Charlotte Castle, and their thereabouts.
Yeah, I saw magic wyverns with stop spell. That's not going to be too bad, but you're not going to be seeing any magic wyverns in Charlock, so.
Meanwhile, Diabetes II finds the grave of Garenham in Hawksness's vanilla location.
And apparently wyverns have heal more. That's always interesting. We'll be able to pick up these 3 chests, get some gold, some wings, and the fighter's ring. He won't be able to collect those other 2 until he comes back with some keys.
And Allegier Brat makes his way into Swamp South. I believe this is the Tablet Cave, and it looks like he is going to try to navigate this in the dark. Something that you would never see me do, for if you get lost, there are no encounters here. So you could very easily be stuck there for a very, very long time trying to bonk your way out. However, these are some very, very seasoned runners, all kind of at that kind of top of the pack. So it wouldn't surprise me if they all have this path pretty memorized and are able to navigate it just fine without any torch or radiant spell.
Ooh, Diabetes II with a key ends up in the back of Tentacle Castle, purchasing some more keys, and we'll be checking out this area in the back. No, okay, he's gonna check out the armory first before he checks out the basement.
Absolutely, he used his key plus a little bit of gold to turn it into 6 keys. And
there's a token.
That's one of the things we're looking for.
2 of the 3 necessary items needed to progress found in the castle, although one of them behind a door. Oh, and we've got a valid gold grind going.
And that's really good. There, I believe, was magic armor in one of the shops. No, wait, he's seen Garretham. There's bound to be something he can purchase. That's for certain.
But yeah, if you're not familiar with this is actually a glitch that was common to the original Dragon Warrior game back on the NES. There wasn't really a whole lot of memory on those RAM chips back in the day, and so the game can only remember you opening up 8 chests before hitting the overworld and clearing that memory slot. So if you open up more than that, like say you open up 4 or 5 of them in a dungeon and then death warp straight to the castle, it will count those 3 chests you open up at the beginning of the game when you hit the throne room. And if you have more than 8, then you can just continue opening the chest over and over again, as Diabetes is now doing.
You know, I kind of remember that happening to me once as a child playing this game, and just being amazed and getting a bunch of gold and then never being able to figure out what it was that caused it. So it's just interesting, kind of making those connections back. You know, it was a simpler, more pure and innocent time.
In all the hundreds of hours I must have sunk into this game as a kid, I never actually managed to trigger that one, or at least if I did, I never recognized that I had.
I just remember this chest didn't disappear. Let's do it again. And obviously, at that time, the you know, in the vanilla game, those chests only give you like 17 gold instead of 500. But it was I tinkered around with it.
Well, there was one chest that would actually give you a decent sum, and that was the one at the bottom of the mountain cave where the death necklace was once you picked it up.
Yes, that was part of my strategy for certain. I tried to get that to get broadsword money back in the day. Meanwhile, it looks like Diabetes II did find the Swamp North entrance. I'm not sure if he walked all the way through it or if he got sent back. Or perhaps that was Ali Jabrep. I saw Swamp North somewhere. Appears that's what was in Tantagel's basement. And the AK-47 ended that walk. Thank you, Brian Williams, for keeping us on top of things.
Yeah, meanwhile, looks like everybody is pretty close on experience. Asher's a little bit behind, only around 300 experience, whereas the others are around 900-ish experience, 950-ish experience. Looks like Ali Jabrap is gonna be heading out by where Hawksness would normally be.
Yes, and as we know, at Hawksness there was a cave there, and we'll see what Ali Jabrap does with that cave.
Oh
And
my, it looks like there's a golem on the spike tile for the princess.
good call checking what that spike tile is, though I don't expect our runners actually saving the princess in this seed. Of course, Princess Gwaelin, when you rescue her, she gives you what we call the Gwaelin positioning system, where she basically gives you Gwaelin's love. Her love is an item that you can use anywhere on the map, and it will tell you through a north, south, east, west coordinate system exactly how far away you are from Tantagel Castle. Now, if it's your first playthrough of the game, you would use that to find Erdrick's token on an overworld search tile. But because things are in their vanilla locations, our runners should know exactly where that search tile is. So there isn't really a need to rescue the princess, as there has been, as has been incentivized rather, in the past few weeks' flag sets.
However, it's still going to be valuable to see what that spike tile is because it is in the basement of Tentacle Castle. There's always the chance of, if it was something that was worth grinding on, to be able to really get an experience lead ahead of your competitors. So, unfortunately, golems not really gonna be the ideal grind. Unfortunately, they hit like, well, they hit like they're made of stone.
They do. They hit like a tank, and they take just as much damage to take down as your standard, Sherman or Abrams armored vehicle. So we probably won't be seeing a grind on those golems. But you're absolutely right. It is good to check what that spike tile is. Were it a axe knight, that could be a game changer as well for the runner that finds that first.
Of course, keep in mind that the runners won't get hurt more until its vanilla location towards the end of the race. So that's going to be changing up the viability of the Axe Knight, really, or a couple of the other typical grinds because you don't have that guaranteed kill.
You're right. I hadn't considered that. That totally does throw a wrench into my plans. See, that's why I always schedule my races for later in the week. I can watch all the really good players and use what they did in my strategy.
Ooh, Asher running into the fun police, getting sent back home. Ali Jabrat barely running away from an armored knight. There are quite a few very powerful enemies out there on the map. Diabetes able to take down that wizard fairly easily, and it looks like he is going to be going for the spike tile. And Hawksness, assuming the armored knight, no, the armored knight will send him back home.
And yeah, Asher 1611 has seen his fair share of red dragons and armor knights in this seed. I want to say that was the 5th or 6th time he's been taken out by one of those red Sharlock enemies. And speak of the devil, Armor Knight is here to send him back to Tantagel Castle one more time.
Yeah, and also the fact that they won't get hurt more until level 16 uh, is also going to be a factor in their playstyle. They won't be able to play quite as aggressively as they would in most randomizer seeds because they just won't have the healing to consistently take down those bigger enemies without risking a lot of pain in the process. So it'll be really interesting to see what kind of grinds that they start taking. I could actually see some of these mid enemies being perfect grinds for them. Things like a Wraith Knight, a Wizard, these Magic Wyverns, although they do have Baby Breath and Stop Spell, don't seem to be too bad and are worth a considerable sum of experience themselves.
Absolutely, and as our heroes learn their support spells, sleep and stop spell in particular, can be very useful against some of those monsters in the middle tiers and even the upper tiers to either have them stop casting that hurt more spell or just put them to sleep altogether.
Ooh, Ali Jabrap just taking down a metal slime, getting that 255 experience and the experience lead.
Very nice indeed. And another armored knight sends Asher 1611 back to the castle. He's got to be feeling the 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 hate from the fun police and their
Ooh,
deputies.
Erdrick's armor was found in the mountain cave.
And that armor, that also is going to help Alidjabrap quite a bit. That was Alidjabrap who got that, yes?
Yes, it was.
So he'll be able to take on harder enemies. He will be using less resources as he gains hit points with every step. And also just taking less damage from pretty much all of the damage dealing spells and abilities, that is Fire Breath and Hurt War spells. So
Yeah, and
a
that
very
was the key, too. That's where they found the key without needing to find Rindaldar.
And so it's basically the race is wide open for him.
Another advantage to the thing is you're now immune to the stop spell. So enemies like the Magi Wyverns that we know cast it fairly consistently. Every time they try and cast it, it's basically a free hit for you. Unfortunately, we'll be getting sent back home by the Star Wyvern, or as we call them, the Jerk Birds.
Yes, Jerkbird indeed, taking out our runner. So I took a look into. I was interested to see if any of our brothers have much experience with the vanilla speedrun of this game, and it looks like Allegier Brap is the only one that I'm seeing on speedrun rankings there. And just thinking that with the maps being vanilla and the progression being vanilla, some of the areas where you would grind and some of the strategies might come in play here. So it would be interesting to see if that after the fact to see if Allegier Brap is taking any of his vanilla run strategy into the randomizer.
Well, he is going to be doing a gold grind, and since he's already got the armor, the only thing he could really be looking for is either the silver shield or the flame sword, or both. Let's see where he stops in this gold grind. Meanwhile, Diabetes the Second actually taking down a Demon Knight. Very interesting. So this is at least going to be silver shield money, which is at 14.8. So there we are, and continuing to go. Okay, so he's wanting both the flame sword and the silver shield, and that will get him in a pretty good gear position.
Yeah, with Erdrick's sword kind of out in the open and not knowing where it is, I would definitely go for both and hope that I was able to find Cantlin in order to get that silver shield.
Yeah, keep in mind, none of them have found Cantlin yet, so it's still out there. It could be in its vanilla location.
Cantlin, of course, the furthest town from where it is. This is another thing that I am not certain about this flag set is whether or not there will be a spike tile in front of Cantlin. Of course, in the vanilla game, it is guarded by a golem, so that will also be. I'll be looking forward to see if that is in fact there.
Yeah, keep in mind that that's actually why you needed the fairy flute in the vanilla game that you found in Coal, was to be able to put the thing to sleep so you could actually take it out instead of get murdered by it horribly. Um, since that is the only location in the vanilla game where you will find the silver shield, and the gear is not going to be random. The shops are not randomized in this seed, so it will only be found in Cantlin.
Wherever Cantlin may be. So yes, that golem is, of course, the OG Snorlax. Pokemon stealing a lot of ideas from the Dragon Warrior series. The big giant guardian monster that sleeps a lot, being one of them. Stole might have been a little harsh. Borrowed. Some ideas from the classics. And it looks like we found Cole on Diabetes the Second screen. He'll be checking that search spot.
And there's the big stick.
The biggest stick you could find. And yet another Armor Knight on Asher 1611 screen. I mean, that That's gotta hurt. He is pushing the death count up to 21 deaths. That's 3 times the amount of Diabetes the Second, our experienced leader at this time. And that's really got to be playing into where his experience is at this point.
So also at this point, we don't know what's under the spike tile in Hawksness, and we don't know where what is on the coordinates tile. One of those two is probably going to be the Stones of Sunlight, which is the last item they're going to need to be able to get into Charlock. Not that they have, stats able to take on a Dragon Lord just yet, um, but still, you're still going to be wanting to get those things taken care of. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw one of our runners getting in there now. Meanwhile, Ali Jabrab finding Cantlin, Diabetes right behind them, where the Swamp South would normally be, to be able to get that Silver Shield.
Absolutely. Now, Jibrap did pick up that Flame Sword and Silver Shield in Cantlin, bringing his stats, getting very, very close to where he needs to be to take on that Dragon Lord. We're still not quite there yet, as you mentioned, but, when we look at our stat tracker, you'll see that there are some different colors there. White just kind of means you're standard, you're not there yet. When it is orange, or kind of that yellowish orange color, that means that those stats are getting close to being Dragon Lord ready. And if your other stats are good to go or a little bit high, then you would probably be okay with one or two of those being in the orange. If the stats are in the green, that means you are pretty much Dragon Lord ready with those stats. Anything in the green or higher, obviously, is good to go.
Oh no, Ali Jabrab is just under 200 gold shy of being able to pick up that Silver Shield. Is actually going to be grinding a couple of enemies here, Star Wyvern and a Wraith Knight, just to pick up the cash to get that shield.
I do like the call of picking up the sword first. That way he has a better time of taking out those monsters. But yeah, I did miss that. I thought he had picked up both. But he has it now. He now has the best shield that money can buy, the best sword that money can buy, and better armor than money will ever be able to purchase in any Dragon Warrior series. I'm pretty sure Erdrick's armor from the original game is the best armor in any Dragon Warrior game.
It certainly is has quite a lot of very beneficial features. As you notice, immunity to swamp and barrier tiles, immunity to stop spell, resistance to hurt more, and the fire breath and the DL2 fire breath. Just an amazing piece of gear. Meanwhile, these people are definitely looking like they're going to be doing some grinding as they are exploring. Ali Jabrab just really needs to find Cole to find the big stick and will be geared up.
It looks like Ali Jabrap is making his way all the way to the south, the Vanilla Rainbow Drop Cave. Meanwhile, Asher 1611 looks like he's making his way to Vanilla Cantlin. So we'll be interesting to see what's in those two locations.
Diabetes the Second actually taking out an armored knight. That's encouraging.
That is, and those armor knights do give a lot of experience. So if he can reliably take them out, that could be a pretty decent grind monster. And Alija Brap does find Cole. Cole was in the Vanilla Rainbow Drop location, so he'll be getting his stick right there, and he'll be happy to see that.
Well, that will finish off that. All Ali Jabrap really needs at the moment is going to be the Stones of Sunlight. Diabetes actually having already found it. I think that was in Hawksness.
What's that? The Cole locate? Oh, the of the Stones of Sunlight. Yes, I believe it might have been the search tile in Hawksness. Yes. Meanwhile, Asher 1611 has found the looks like the grave of Garenham, and he'll be clearing out at least the top area of that. Looks like he does not have magic keys yet, so he won't be able to make it to the bottom of the grave. Breathes a sigh of relief as he gets away from the Star Wyvern.
Yeah, our runners are actually strong enough now. They could probably take on Jerkbirds fairly consistently now with their stats and their gear, or at least Diabetes and Ali Jabrab could. Asher, unfortunately, has been running into so many armored knights, has really gotten behind. If you'll notice, Diabetes is second with 7 deaths, Ali Jabrab with 11, and Asher with 22 deaths. Though he has just really had a very painful start, and unfortunately, that can snowball in these kind of situations.
Yeah, every time you're sent back to Tantagel Castle, that's, more time it takes to go out and find those monsters and get those experience points. But Asher trying to continue the or rather exploration. He's made it around the final bend, and he's just another bridge or two away from the Vanilla Cantlin location. So it'll be interesting to see what town is there. I'm trying to think what town is left that it could be, or cave.
Rimildar?
Have we seen it yet? I thought we had seen Rimildar somewhere.
I don't recall seeing it. They got the key from the mountain cave.
Well, then we might be seeing Rimildar here.
Okay, no spike tile in front of it, and yep, there is Rimildar. Asher now going to go buy keys. Unfortunately, it looks like Asher never found Mountain Cave, which has also put him a little bit behind. Whereas the other two runners finding that Mountain Cave, finding the key, finding Erdrick's armor, very, very valuable pickups for them that really let them open up this seed. Not finding that has also set Asher back a bit, unfortunately. Speaking of getting sent back, Ellie Jabrap running into the fun police and getting sent back home.
Yeah, Erdrick's armor still not enough to protect him from the wrath of or rather from the long arm of the law. So going back to Tantagel Castle. Meanwhile, Asher is checking the herb chest in Hawksness, or rather, not Hawksness, Rimildar, and looks like he's gonna pick himself up a broadsword.
I don't argue that pick one little bit. Being able to actually take things down is extraordinarily important. Almost as important as this little known tactic, don't die.
Meanwhile, Brian Williams 42 pointing out in chat that Diabetes the second appears to be going for a dive. No, it looks like he's just grinding monsters in the zone or the desert tiles in front of Sharlock.
Yeah, to be able to really take on the Dragon Lord, if you'll notice, the hit point totals are kind of there. Basically, assuming your defense is sufficient, the biggest hit you can take from the Dragon Lord Phase 2 is a 48-point Fire Breath. That's the highest you can get. So multiply by 2, add 1 is technically 97, but you probably want over 100 hit points just to be careful.
Diabetes is getting a metal slime grind on here, and he is one-shotting these metal slimes. So at 255 experience points each, he is just going to skyrocket up those levels. Just now taking level 15. Level 16 is at 6,500 experience points in this flag set.
And that's when he gets heal more, and that's when things start really opening up for him. So yeah, being able to take down back-to-back metal slimes has really helped Diabetes there. Meanwhile, Ali Jabrat picking up some fairy water and is going to go back. Ali Jabrat also now has the rainbow drop. But yeah, you're really gonna want a little bit more defense than they've got right now. At this point, I think they're still gonna be taking a 50-point hit from the physical attacks of the Dragon Lord with their current defense.
So Diabetes the second grinding in front of Sharlock Castle. Leader Brap is restocking his keys, and Asher 1611 taking on a Star Wyvern, taking it down, getting some revenge on the Jerkbird, and grabbing level 12 in the process.
Ooh, Diabetes taking on another metal slime. This has just been an amazing grind for him so far.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It feels like they are turning up fairly often. No, I was gonna say they were a 40% enemy, but I think I've seen 5 different things there, so there goes that theory. And even when it's not metal slimes, like Magiwyverns give a 83 experience. That's pretty good. And boom, there's level 16.
Yep, he needs one more level before he can get heal more, and then he needs level 19 if he wants hurt more. But at this point, hurt more is kind of optional. One thing I always thought was kind of a downside of the base game, the vanilla game, was by the time you get hurt more, you have Erdrick's sword.
Yeah, you don't really need hurt more by the time you get hurt more. You can it's very possible in this game to have everything you need by like level 13, and then you just have to grind to get your heal more spell. And then usually one more level. 18 I think is where most of the record holders are at when they beat the game in the vanilla version.
Assuming you're not doing RNG manipulation tactics like somebody did last year at the AGDQ.
Yes, RNG manipulation does change things quite a bit. So for those of us with low reaction time, such as myself, you're pretty much level 18 or bust.
Yeah, I basically I never even bothered attempting the Dragon Lord before level 20 when I was a kid.
I think I remember a few 19s, but yeah, 20 always felt like the right time and was fairly consistently doable. Meanwhile, Elijah Brap learning about the golem on the spike tile behind Tantagel Castle, and he says, no, I don't want to do that. Actually, it looks like he does want to do that.
Oh no, golems have heal more!
This is not a grind-worthy monster. But it looks like he's doing it anyway. Perhaps he wants to get the princess? I'm a little confused about this decision point here.
I'm not sure why either. I would definitely be finding a better place to go personally. I mean, it is worth 255 once you take him down. There is that, but I would definitely try and find a better place to grind. I don't really see the benefit to rescuing the princess. Yeah, he's just going to be grinding on this golem.
An interesting decision, indeed. I mean, I think he must be seeing that 255, but I kind of feel like if it takes me 2 or 3 attempts to take one down, there's got to be faster things out there.
Yeah, I mean, if I can take on a couple of Magiwyverns by the time you take down a single golem, I'm ahead of the game.
And of course, Diabetes II did find that faster thing out there. And is he in Sharlock right now? It looks like he has made his dive.
He has heal more. I don't know if he's got the stats, but he's gonna make a first valiant attempt. 108 MP. He's got quite a few heal mores in the tank. If he can get down there, he's got a shot at this.
I mean, pretty much all of his stats are in the green. So yeah, he has very good chances of getting it. Not one of these statisticians that can tell you exactly the percent odds of victory, but it does look all right. Brian Williams pointing out 166, and that's mega green. Yeah, so he'll be doing, a 33 maximum swing and a 16 minimum swing. So that does shift the odds in his favor. Of course, the Dragon Lord has between 150 and 165 experience. For those of you who are rather uninitiated, there's kind of a formula you can put in. You take your attack power, you subtract 100 by that, divide that by 2, and that's your maximum swing. So if we look at Elite or Diabetes II's got 166, we take 100 from that. That puts him at 66. Divide that by 2 is his 33 max swing. Divide that by 2 again, and that gives you your minimum swing. So 33 divided 2 puts us at 16.5. So we'll call that 16 for his minimum swing.
Yeah. Unless there's a golem on the spike tile in front of the Dragon Lord, this is pretty okay. The only thing I could possibly think of that could stop Diabetes at this point would be the fact that he's only got 80 defense points. If he gets a 49 point hit and he has 48 points because he thinks he's safe, yeah, that might be the only thing that might do it.
And we have a stone man on the tile. He takes it out with 2 swift blows from his Erdrick sword. Not even bothering to heal up before talking to the Dragon Lord, and he is a fool.
Thou art a fool.
Dragon Lord casts Stop Spell first time, and we are in Dragon Lord 2 fight. He gets ambushed, casts the Heal More spell. And these are going way too fast for me to be able to count it for you. Normally I would give you a count.
Yeah, that's the speed hex flag there. It's just going by too fast to really keep up with.
But however, this is looking very good for Diabetes the second. Short of a miss menu, I'm pretty sure this is going to be our first victor. So get those GGs
There
ready.
it
The Dragon
is.
Lord has been vanquished.
Break out your GGs! Diabetes the second running into first place in the final of the week 5 matches of our 2020 Winter League with an SRL time of 40 minutes and 54 seconds.
Fantastic finish by Diabetes the second. Definitely a heads up play on identifying that grind spot in front of Sharlock. Those desert tiles had metal slimes galore, and that really is what propelled him to the lead. Meanwhile, Elijah Brap choosing to grind on the golems behind Tantagel Castle, and we can see that's going much, much, much more slowly for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the golem was really the wrong one. Unfortunately, there's also a golem on the only other spike tile they know about, which is in Hawksness. So there really aren't any good spike grinds. Which the advantage of a spike grind, of course, being every step you get the encounter guaranteed. So that does make for a faster iteration if you can take them down consistently. Unfortunately, that is not the case with these golems.
And it looks like Elijah Brap has given up on the golem and is walking through the swamp, probably making his way towards Sharlock, but, well, actually, I think Sharlock is the other direction, so we'll see.
But yeah, it was definitely that metal slime grind. And of course, one of the little known facts, if you have a high enough attack power, if you've got more than 150 attack power, you can start doing more than 1 damage to metal slimes. At least in the vanilla game.
Yes, I believe Diabetes the second was swinging for like 11 on the metal slime, so he was one-shotting them for certain.
Not typically something you would ever find in the vanilla game, but with this seed setup, we seem to manage it, and that definitely propelled him very rapidly into a winning position. Meanwhile, we've got Ali Gerbrap at level 16 is going to be doing the bridge here, and maybe he'll grind on some metal slimes as well.
Rainbow drop animation, one of my favorite in the games. I love watching that siege as kind of flash colors. It's always nice to watch it. It kind of reminds me of some of the the LED lightings and things that they have on our PCs nowadays. It's kind of, once again, Dragon Warrior did it first. And it looks like we are welcomed or joined by Diabetes the second to the commentators booth. Diabetes, welcome to the booth. Fantastic job. Care to say anything about the seed? How you felt about this run?
Hey, thanks, guys. It was it was an interesting one, that's for sure. I got a little worried when we walked out into Vanilla Tantagel and then walked into Vanilla Brecconary. It's like, did I open up the vanilla game somehow?
Is this even randomized, right?
Yeah, and then of course, you know what happened with Game Boy there a couple minutes in. I mean, I think all of us were more than happy to re-roll it because that's really unfortunate for him. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to run a full foursome with that, but I mean, GG's anyway. I mean, hopefully we can still see Game Boy when it comes to bracket time.
Well, unfortunately, with Game Boy taking the forfeit and only getting 1 point, he will not be progressing to the playoffs.
Oof, that's unfortunate. Well, I mean, it's a 5-week season to determine that, so I mean, it's every week. It's not just one, but it's unfortunate the way that happened.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that on the final week in the bracket where this is stay or go day that it happened to crash, and that is very unfortunate. But yeah, no, he came back in chat and was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna forfeit."
Well, outside of that, I mean, that obviously kind of put a little bit of a weird feeling right there at the top end, but everything kind of fell into place really quickly, at least for me on my end. I'm taking a look at where the other runners are right now. Found the armor pretty quickly, got equipped up pretty well. The only thing that was pretty dangerous around was the armored knights with DL2 breath. That was really the big stopper.
That and the fun police that were all over the place.
That's actually a good point. I had done a full gold grind and was like 3 steps away from Cantlin when I got stopped by the red dragon. Never ended up picking up a silver shield at all. And considering how terrible our agility was until the very end, wasn't ideal. I think even still in the Dragon Lord fight, I had to be careful because I'm pretty sure DL2 could still do like 51, I think I figured.
Something
physical
like that,
damage.
Yeah, we were looking at the defense, and I'm like, I hope he remembers that this thing can do more physical damage than 48.
And especially in this format with the fast text on, where stuff is just flying past you, there's no time to think. Yeah. Or at least there's the temptation to not. It's easy to just buttons. But you do have to take that second to do the right thing. I didn't swing on 48, I think, at least once. It's like, there's no reason to. You have like 9 extra heal mores. Just be careful and don't be stupid.
Yeah, but the key difference really between you and Ali Jabrat, both of you found that mountain cave with the key, which was important, and the armor, which was also important. Unfortunately, Asher didn't find that cave until much later, which was unfortunate for him. He actually found Rimildar first. But get out your GGs. There's Ali Jabrat coming in second place.
Very good game, Ali Jabrat. And so as he turns in, or rather gets his, inheritance of the of Alifgard, I do want to ask Diabetes the second. Tell me about those metal slimes.
That was a very happy coincidence because I had no idea that they were there. My intention, I think I was at level 13, was just to walk into Sharlock. I hadn't really found a good grind spot otherwise, and then just pace around on the first floor until I got up to like 16. I think I can probably just dive and grind 17. And then there were metal slimes mixed in with, a couple of bad enemies and goldmen and I think Magid Drakies. But there were, Magid Wyverns and Wolf Lords that were pretty decent. And, talk about fast experience. When you have enough attack power to just take them down in one swing 100% of the time, metal slimes.
Yeah,
love it.
That was actually the difference. That was actually the difference between you and Ali Jabrat at that point, was you were able to consistently take down those metal slimes for 255 experience points each. He actually went into Tentacle Basement to go and try and grind that golem in the Spike Tile and Swamp Cave. Unfortunately, he also found out they have heal more.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way too, and then, I don't know what their stop spell resist was, but I think I failed at
They have
least,
heal
I
more.
think, 2 out of 3. So I
yeah,
said, forget
I found
it.
that out the hard way too.
Not doing that.
And then,
And speaking of
I
a
don't know
leader
what
brap,
they're
welcome to the commentator's booth. You did a fantastic job coming in second place with a time of 47 minutes and 36 seconds. Care to comment anything about how that seed went for you?
Yeah, I mean, I made a couple of mistakes. The one thing I really liked was like we had a ton of MP and I could just dive and grind for 17. I was thinking if I needed to grind, I could grind to 16, just doing just encounters. But I think I was pretty good from what I've seen from my
Yeah, level 17 was also where Diabetes the Second went down. The key difference between you two, I think you caught the end of that commentary, is Diabetes Second found a really good grind spot right in front of Charlotte Castle that had metal slimes in those desert tiles while you were going after those golems. So he was able to just get there just a little bit faster.
Yeah, I mean, I would never have thought, like, I would never check those zones, especially like near Sharlock. I pretty much never check them because when I go there, it's because I want to call game.
Yeah, and it was coincidence basically on my part. I think I was at level 13 and was going to Charlock to grind, and I happened to see metal slimes and realize, oh, I can one-shot these. Okay, sounds good. So not planned in any way, shape, or form. Just happy little metal slimes.
Yeah, I mean, like, we had like what 130 XS power, so like it was a lot easy to one shot them.
Yes, finishing the game with 166 attack power, or 164 if you didn't find the fighter's ring, at level 17. Pretty much made short work of everything that was in your way. This definitely was not a seed where strength was a limiting factor, and kind of a thing that you want to see, especially when you're not getting hurt more until, well, nobody got it because we didn't get to the level where hurt more happened.
Yeah, I mean, like most of the seeds I've played with this, like it was pretty much know what you go at 16 and just dive from 16 to get 17 on the way, because more for the dot you have enough MP and strength to just do the dive and grind.
Yeah, Asher is actually doing a dive at level 14.
And it looks like he is taking out monsters on the way. So just as you mentioned, he is doing that dive and grind, picking up 15 from a blue dragon. And honestly, with 88 health, if he can maintain his resources, he's got the armor, he's got the sword, he's got a large shield instead of a silver shield. But if he can grind dive his way down and maintain his resources, it's quite possible for him to sneak a quick Dragon Lord win out of this.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I strongly considered just going after my grind and not going back to heal. I think I had like 80 MP. I mean, on paper, it's like totally free DL2 fight, but depending on what's on the dive, I mean, if there's a bunch of armored knights, our agility is kind of if you get stuck in some of those fights here and there, all of a sudden you're sitting at 40 MP left. It's like, well, if I would have just gone back and healed and saved myself, or spent 30 seconds and then wasted 5 minutes, So it's definitely doable. We'll see what he can do.
No, looks like it's actually a werewolf that took him down. I think he wasn't really paying attention. These speed hacks can really trick the player into spamming the button.
Yeah, 2 or 3 run fails might only feel like 1 run fail, and it's like, where did all my hit points go?
And I think we're actually going to be seeing a forfeit out of Asher.
And not seeing any action on his screen there. That usually
Now,
means
keep
we're
in
switching over to
mind-
IRC chat.
Now, keep in mind, if Asher forfeits at this point, he will still only get 1 point because this was a 4-person race. He has to complete it if he wants the 2 points, and that's going to be the difference between potentially getting in the tournament and not.
Yes, having two 1 point recipients actually changes the mathematics of what's possible for this seed. We might be seeing a runoff after all. I'll have to look at the numbers a little later tonight, but yeah, that changing all that stuff we were talking about, 15 being the magic number, um, could be changed now.
I wonder what happens with this, because especially I knew people were like tied with those numbers, and maybe that makes a big tiebreaker. And like I'm also happy. I think I'm in like diabetes. I'm not. I think you are in also. So it will be interesting for next week or in 2 weeks. I don't know when is the next round, and I will have to practice because I've never played repel every time.
Yeah, Asher did express that he wasn't feeling terribly good before the race started, so it may just be that he was done. It's unfortunate because of the whole forfeit situation and losing that extra point, basically losing a guaranteed spot to advance versus, I guess, potentially there being a big multi-way tie for 16.
It looks like Asher's expressing in chat that he was done, and I've certainly felt that way going through these Dragon Warrior seeds. Asher hitting every single armored knight and red dragon that was in the overworld, almost as if he had the anti-repel spell on for him. Uh, that really can just kind of put a hamper on your game. So I totally understand the
Oh
being
yeah.
finished with it.
Oh yeah. I mean, he had 28 deaths to Diabetes's 8 and Ali Jabrab's 15. I mean, it's like he walks out, he goes 5 steps, he runs into an armored knight. Rinse, wash, repeat for 5 minutes.
Unfortunately, those red enemies can that's why we call them the fun police and his AK-47 weaponry. But all in
Yeah.
all, absolutely good game to all of our runners for sticking it through as far as we did and for the finishes that we had. It was certainly an exciting race and glad to see see this week 5 coming in. Um, any thoughts about moving forward into the brackets? I haven't even taken a look at what the flag set is for next week, but I think it's back to more like the standard flags that folks normally run. Let me see if I can't pull that up real quick.
Week 6 is actually that's going to be next week. The first round of the playoffs will be permanent repel. So you kind of have to want to watch what kind of armor you pick up, because if you start repelling anything you can consistently take down, you could put yourself into a really bad position. Furthermore, repel will function in dungeons, and of course your battle torches. So the big kicker though is going to be that permanent, always on repel. That's going to throw a monkey wrench into the works.
Very interesting. That's the kind of the thing I like about this league. Each flag set kind of brings with it a different approach and a very different way to go about the game. And it really does stretch our runners' knowledge of how the inner workings of the statistics, the armor, the way that the monsters run and fight, and how all of that comes together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
the
will be
permanent. Go
it will
ahead.
be interesting. I think. The one thing I think in permanent repel will be torches and um, Feywater will be important early on, and like you might have to buy some clothes just to get some good decent enemies to grind before diving, depending on what happens.
That might be interesting. We might see our first Erdrick's armor sold for 1 gold in order to pick up some clothes, just so that we can get some levels. I hadn't thought of it going to that extreme, but I certainly will keep my eye open for that one, Allegiant Brap.
It's a possible strategy depending on where the armor falls. I mean, if it's in the throne room, you're kind of stuck because if you get rid of it, you can't get it back. But if it's basically anywhere else, it's a possible strategy. It depends on what your other stats are, I guess. I mean, if you have the strength or hurt more or something that you can fight enemies otherwise, but it's a really dangerous thing to just randomly pick up the armor and then realize, I have 26 attack power and the smallest thing that's going to come and let me swing at it as I don't know, a wyvern, and you're just not going to win that fight. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Any final thoughts from either of you before we go ahead and wrap this up?
Sorry to hear what happened to the other runners. No, it's sad to see Game Boy and Asher finish their league possibly that way. And what I can't wait for the bracket, and hopefully I can, yeah, I can go further.
Absolutely. Well, so far as we know, both of you will be advancing to the playoffs, so we'll definitely see you there. And of course, everybody in the audience, if this is the kind of stuff you enjoy watching, definitely give all of these runners a follow on Twitch. Gameboy F9, Diabetes the Second, Asher 1611, and Ali Gerbrat. We've got the links down there in the chat. I am Sneaky the Lost here in the commentators booth. With me is Velu V. We've got Brian Williams 42 as our restreamer, bringing us all of this enjoyable content to watch and trying to keep track of all of this stuff with the speed hacks going on. Is Fry Teeth and Centroid 41 doing an amazing job with that. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week for the playoffs. Until then, take it easy.